the one who breaks the darkness with a liberating light. Praise the one who frees the prisoners, turning blindness into sight.
Welcome to the Daily Bite. I'm your host, Pastor Steve Andrews.
Today's text is from Nehemiah chapter 3, and it's a difficult one in the sense that it is filled with names. And names from Hebrew are often difficult to pronounce, especially for us in English-speaking places today, as we're just not used to them. So it's up to you how you'd like to handle reading through those. I'd encourage you to give it a go anyway, but I'll read them for you here today, starting it out at chapter 3, verse 1. Then Eliashib the high priest rose up with his brothers the priests, and they built the sheep gate. They consecrated it and set its doors. They consecrated it as far as the Tower of the 100, as far as the Tower of Hananel. And next to him the men of Jericho built, and next to them Zakur the son of Imri built. The sons of Hassanah built the fish gate. They laid its beams and set its doors, its bolts, and its bars. Next to them, Meremoth, the son of Uriah, the son of Hakoz, repaired. Next to them, Meshullam, the son of Berechiah, son of Meshezabel, repaired. Next to them, Zadok, the son of Bana, repaired. Next to them, the Tekoites repaired. But their nobles would not stoop to serve their lord. Joiada, the son of Paseah, and Meshullam, the son of Besodeah, repaired the gate of Yashana. They laid its beams and set its doors, its bolts, and its bars, and next to them repaired Melatiah the Gibeonite and Jadon the Meronothite, the men of Gibeon and of Mizpah, the seat of the governor of the province beyond the river. Next to them Uzziel the son of Harhiah, goldsmiths, repaired. Next to him Hananiah, one of the perfumers, repaired, and they restored Jerusalem as far as the broad wall. Next to them Raphiah the son of Hur, the ruler of the half-district of Jerusalem, repaired. Next to them Jedaiah, the son of Harumaph, repaired opposite his house. Next to him Hattush, the son of Hashabnah, repaired. Malchijah, the son of Harim, and Hashub, the son of Pahath-Moab, repaired another section, and the tower of the ovens. Next to him Shallum, the son of Halohesh, ruler of half the district of Jerusalem, repaired, he and his daughters. Hanun and the inhabitants of Zanoah repaired the valley gate. They rebuilt it and set its doors, its bolts, and its bars, and repaired 1,000 cubits of the wall as far as the dung gate. Malchijah, the son of Rechab, ruler of the district of Beth Hakerem, repaired the dung gate. He rebuilt it and set its doors, its bolts, and its bars. And Shallum, the son of Kol-Hozeh, ruler of the district of Mizpah, repaired the fountain gate. He rebuilt it and covered it, and set its doors, its bolts, and its bars. And he built the wall of the pool of Shelah of the king's garden as far as the stairs that go down from the city of David. After him, Nehemiah the son of Azbuk, ruler of half the district of Bethzur, repaired to a point opposite the tombs of David, as far as the artificial pool, and as far as the house of the mighty men. After him the Levites repaired. Rehum, the son of Bani. Next to him Hashabiah, ruler of half the district of Keilah, repaired for his district. After him the brothers repaired. Bavai, the son of Henadad, ruler of half the district of Keilah. Next to him Ezer, the son of Jeshua, ruler of Mizpah, repaired another section opposite the ascent to the armory at the buttress. After him Baruch, the son of Zabai, repaired another section from the buttress to the door of the house of Eliashib the high priest. After him, Meremoth, the son of Uriah, son of Hakoz, repaired another section from the door of the house of Eliashib to the end of the house of Eliashib. After him, the priests, the men of the surrounding area, repaired. After them, Benjamin and Hashub repaired opposite their house. After them, Azariah, the son of Maaseiah, the son of Ananiah, repaired beside his own house. After him, Benui, the son of Henadad, repaired another section, from the house of Azariah to the buttress to the corner. Palal, the son of Uzai, repaired opposite the buttress and the tower projecting from the upper house of the king at the court of the guard. After him, Pedaiah, the son of Parosh, and the temple servants living on Ophel, repaired to a point opposite the water gate on the east and projecting tower. After him, the Tekoites repaired another section opposite the great projecting tower as far as the wall of Ophel. Above the horse gate, the priests repaired, each one opposite his own house. After them, Zadok the son of Immer repaired opposite his own house. After him, Shemaiah the son of Shechaniah, the keeper of the east gate, repaired. After him, Hananiah the son of Shelemiah and Hanan the sixth son of Zalaph repaired another section. After him, Meshullam the son of Berechiah repaired opposite his chamber. After him, Malchijah, one of the goldsmiths, repaired as far as the house of the temple servants and of the merchants opposite the muster gate, and to the upper chamber at the corner. And between the upper chamber of the corner and the sheep gate, the goldsmiths and the merchants repaired. This is the word of the Lord. I hope you noticed there, I know it was a difficult chapter, but I hope you noticed that you started with the sheep gate in verse 1 and you ended with the sheep gate in verse 32. This is one of the things you could then do with your children as you're reading through this, is to, however you'd like to do it, build a city. Build city walls around that city. So you might do it out of Play-Doh or clay, or out of toys, out of Legos, out of bricks, those old cardboard blocks, whatever you might have to work with. Go ahead and build something as you're reading this. And notice that really you're starting with a sheep gate in the northeast corner, and you're working your way counterclockwise. So northeast to northwest, and then down and around. And you end back at the same spot you began. So we are seeing the rebuilding of the entire city wall. It is reported to us, recorded for us by Nehemiah, the servant, the cupbearer to the Persian king, Artaxerxes. So the sheep gate itself, just to give you info there, sheep would process through that for the sacrificial system. So that's where the name came from. You get Eliashib named right off the bat. It's a common name, actually, scripturally speaking. It means God will return or God will restore. So you can see why families that trust in God would like to use that name. One of the things that you want to focus on here, if you know Hebrew, the names can be fun, but most people can't do that. And I'm not going to take the time in the podcast because that would be a really long study. So instead, what you'd focus on with your kids is maybe how many are involved in this project, how many groups of people, because you can't even count the men when there's groups. How many different groups, how many different men are named here? Might be fun to do. Or another thing, from which, I don't even know, which parts of life, from how many different types of repair do we see? Might be a way to say it. Or, I mean, the idea is like, you've got some people that are just repairing for the sake of repairing. They're helping out. You've got other people specifically repairing like their own house section. You've got others that are repairing. Just what's the intentionality? What are they working on? Is what I was getting at with that. Hard to say how to phrase that. So anyways, we work our way through the text, some things to observe, some things to note. Consecration, so setting it apart, making it holy is the idea of that word. So almost like a religious rite that the priests might have done over such a thing in verse 1. You have the Tower of the 100, the Tower of Hananel, both mentioned there. Towers on the city are spots for defense of the city. And the north wall having towers makes sense because major enemies for Israel were from the north. If the Assyrians were coming, they would come, or the Babylonians, or in this time it would be the Persians. But historically, they come from the east. They come north of the Sea of Galilee, or Sea of Kinnereth in the Old Testament days. They turn southward at that point, so they would be attacking from the north. So that's made more defensible in that way. You have verse 3, a fish gate, perhaps indicating that there was a fish market there. You've got the repairs, the different men being named. Then we see in verse 5 a group, the Tekoites. These are from Tekoa, which is a place 10 miles to the south of Jerusalem. It is the former home of the prophet Amos. But their nobles would not stoop. See that word? They would not stoop to serve their Lord. Whether that's a reference to Well, I don't know who it's a reference to. Could be God himself. It could be the Persian king Artaxerxes. It could be Nehemiah, as he's going to be made governor here before the book's out. It could be a reference to whoever the minor ruler is, like their own governor, back in Tekoa. Whoever it is, we don't know. But they show pride. They're too proud to do this thing. And that's not good. Then we get the gate of Yeshana, which would be the northwest corner. We see the idea of Gibeon and Mizpah being mentioned. Gibeon's 6 miles to the northwest. It's actually the place Babylon seems to have made the center of administration, governance in that area after they had conquered Judah. Mizpah is right next to Gibeon. And so they work, we see the seat of the governor of the province beyond the river. That's a reference to what I was just saying there. The Persian king has kept that spot. And so it would have been to Gibeon that Nehemiah's letter to a governor from the king would have went about rebuilding this wall. So you got the goldsmiths doing some of the reparations. That's good. The perfumers are getting involved in restoring the wall. You've got rulers of districts. Apparently Jerusalem split into 2 districts, had rulers over each. So you've got some great men. You've also got some lesser men mentioned as helping to rebuild the wall. Not only that, in verse 12, you've got some women mentioned rebuilding the wall, right? The daughters of Shallum helping out. You have Judea in verse 10 working opposite his house, right? Whereas Hashub and Malchijah in 11 just are working on a section and a tower, not specific to where they lived. The Tower of the Ovens is on the west side. This could be a reference to just the crafts, the idea of clay pots, pottery, ceramics, whatever you want to phrase it as, that time that they would have fired them in ovens, and that could be that section. Or more specifically, these could be a place for prepping food for the temple, sacrifices that once offered. The food had to be cooked or burned. Could be there. I don't know for sure which of those it would be. But you get the other ruler, the other half ruler of Jerusalem working there in verse 12 as well. Then in verse 13, we see the Valley Gate repaired, 1,500 feet worth of repair by this one group as they work. Let's see, what else can we pick up on here in the text? Just kind of skimming over some of this. The Levites, the priests, are getting involved down in verse 17. We don't know in verse 16 the house of the mighty men, what that's a reference to. The mighty men of King David was a reference to his select group of soldiers. If I remember right, there were 37 of them. The question becomes, did they have a house in David's city? And it just was maintained all that time? Again, Jerusalem being torn down, so that wouldn't make a lot of sense. Or is this a new group of mighty men that they're training up some soldiers for themselves? Possibility. Then you make it to verse 20. The house of Eliashib, the high priest, would have been on the east wall, close to the temple. The priests are working on making repairs as well. Verse 25 mentions the upper house of the king. So is that a reference to the palace that Solomon once built for himself? It doesn't seem like that would have survived the Babylonian conquer. So have they built a new royal place here with expectation that someday somebody might sit in it, live in it? So we see the temple servants working. We see the water gate is on the east, as it's mentioned there. The horse gate in verse 28 is perhaps literally named because horses come and go there. So cavalry for an army, perhaps. That overlooked the Kidron Valley off to the east. You see there the name of Zadok. Zadok would be a good priestly name. It's one of the faithful high priests from before. Verse 28, the priests there were repairing opposite their own house. That's one of the things that I'd mentioned to keep an eye out for. The goldsmiths are at it again. You have Meshullam in verse 30 repairing opposite his own chamber. So a room in the temple court. You have the muster gate mentioned in verse 31. That's northeast again as we draw near the end of the circle. Muster, you think in English, mustering the troops, a place that they gathered their soldiers together, or the palace guard or the priestly guard, perhaps. And we're back to the sheep gate at the end. We made a full circle. This is the record of the rebuilding of the wall. It's a historical account, so for the people of that time, these names probably meant a lot more to them than they do to you and me. But at the same time, many of these may well be our brothers in Christ who looked forward to the promise of a Messiah to come that we'll see in paradise. So this is a record of the works that they have done in the history of the church, the people of Israel.
Let us praise the Word incarnate, Christ who suffered.